I'll tell you right now, it's illegal to grow this. Some states have made it legal, and the Farm Bill, which was recently signed, has made it legal to plant small portions for research and knowledge purposes. But there's no commercial application for it. It remains illegal to import seed. So I need someone to tell me how you can grow a plant without actually having the seed to plant. And right now you're seeing a lot of people struggle to try and get some things happening in the industrial hemp market in the U.S., and they're not able to get seed into the U.S. because the DEA won't give them the permits. So it's a big challenge for sure. So I mentioned that hemp and marijuana are the same plant, which is true, but much like this family here, they're from the same family, but obviously very different. Similarly, an automobile, the Sebastian Vettel's Formula One race car versus something that's not a race car. So you can see, you can call something a car, you can call it a dog, but there's still a lot of differences, and that's the case with cannabis as well. And our focus today is to talk about industrial hemp. This is a field of industrial hemp. That gentleman in there is also one of the primary drivers of the industry. His name's John Rulak, and he owns Nativa out of the United States. And John's been a great advocate of hemp across North America through his company. And one difference that you can see obviously from this picture is industrial hemp grows outside, marijuana grows inside. So there's a nice easy way to say, well, what are the differences? There's one of them. At least all of the controlled growth operations. So I'll talk briefly about some of the uses of the product. Again, Marcus gave you some images. You'll actually see some similar pictures. But there are many, many uses for industrial hemp. Again, we're just touching the surface of what those things might be. We've done a bit of research on different products, but you'll see the products are very raw. They're sort of that primary processing kind of level of production. There's not a lot of work gone into the advancement and development of add-on, value-added kinds of products. There's many, many things that can be done there. But even at their most elemental level, there's a tremendous amount of use. So we'll talk a little bit about food, where you see shelled hemp seed, hemp protein powder, hemp oil. These are kind of the basic standards of the food sector. In the fiber side, we've had a lot of experience with insulation and batting. You've heard the term hempcrete a couple of times already today, where you're actually using it to bond with a limestone kind of mix and create very resource-friendly types of buildings where they're warm, in the winter and cool in the summer, and that kind of thing, fire retardant. Tremendous properties within hemp for growth and building purposes. There's also some application around pressed board and fiber boards and that sort of thing. There's some good project development work going on in Canada, in Winnipeg at the Composite Innovation Centre, in Vegreville, Alberta, at the Alberta Government's Bio-Research Facility, where they're working on the development of fiber products. It's a slower to-market kind of product development, and it's taking time to get some traction in the industry. We've just heard recently 2 companies will be planning to build $32 million plants in Alberta, one more on the building side of things and one on the composite side. So that's coming, that sector's coming, and that information, as that gets out to farmers, it starts to send them the signals that we want your product, we want you to grow this for this reason, and we'll contract it. That's going to resonate very, very well with farmers. I'll talk about the economics a little bit, but just so you get a sense of it, farmers have been burned a little bit by this industry where they've grown something and then the market has disappeared on them and left them literally holding inventories of stock. So they've been a little bit more cautious. But the growth that we've seen over the past 4 or 5 years is quite exponential, and it's driven by real demand for food products. Now, as this fiber sector comes on board and starts to show that same kind of signal, I think we'll see continued growth in the sector. Some of the newer areas, you've already seen this picture of Henry Ford's car, and it's a great story. But today, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Audi use hemp for about 60 different pieces in their products, in their cars, from door panels to mats to that sort of thing. Motive Industries in Edmonton also built a car out of fiber. The external parts of the car, and using hemp as the fiber base for that product. One of these companies that I talked about that's building a facility in Alberta are taking it to another level in terms of composite fiber. And some of the techniques that they've discovered and that they're going to utilize make this product even stronger and harder, to the point where it could actually replace steel. or we may see a car chassis made of a hemp source type of fiber that's as strong as steel and lightweight as well. So where this can go in terms of the fiber industry is significant, and these are all multiple kinds of products. When you talk about the marijuana side, you're kind of talking about one product. When you talk about industrial hemp, you've got thousands and thousands of different products in different markets and spaces where these products can fit in. You heard the term cannabinoids. I'm sure all of you recognize the cannabinoid module, or molecule, I should say. No? Not so much. Me either, actually. It's been a bit of a mystery to me. But I've been on a bit of a mission to learn about it more lately. And what I've learned is that it forms a large portion of the plant itself. It's not part of the food. There's many people here that have talked more about it than me who know a lot more about this. But I'm learning, and I see another opportunity for the Canadian farmer to produce a product to fill a need. And again, they need the proper signals in order to plant that crop, and investors need the proper signals in order to put money into an industry like that. Sadly to say, it's illegal to do this in Canada. So you talk to Health Canada, which I have a lot lately, about CBDs. You can't test it, you can't own it, you can't even pick it up off the field. So there's a real dichotomy of law here, because in the United States, it's legal to do that, but not legal to grow the plant. So they can import the stock, and they can import the product, and they can do the testing and product development on CBDs, but they can't do it on industrial hemp. So it doesn't, I don't understand it. What I have learned is that, the regulatory agencies hold to the letter of the law. So until the law changes, they're standing very rigidly around what's in that letter of the law. And so we need to see the laws change, quite frankly. That's really the only way. Andrea mentioned that we're lobbying the federal government to have some changes made. That's not correct. I don't like the word lobbying. We're not lobbyists. We are advocating for hemp to be removed from the jurisdiction of Health Canada and move it over to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. If it were treated as a crop instead of as a drug, it would be looked at entirely differently. And frankly, all of our problems would go away with respect to the challenges of growing it, the monitoring, the regulatory control, and the legislation. So we felt that was probably the most expeditious and prudent way to do it. And having said that, it's not simple, but at least we have that process in motion. We're in contact and dialogue with different departments of the government and trying to move that process along. Andrea mentioned there is a regulatory review underway. Unfortunately, they move at glacial speed, and we need faster recognition of the requests that we're making. So we're pushing hard to get them to make some better decisions based on good judgment, rather than just incremental kinds of tweaking to the law. But it takes time. I won't dwell on this. This was an interesting little chart that as many people have used over the years, but it just goes to show you some of the applications around textiles and paper and building materials, foods, industrial products, and so on. All of the different applications that the industrial hemp plant can be used for. I want to skip ahead, or maybe change gears a little bit here now. I want to talk about canola. I've been in agriculture for over 40 years. I started across the street in the 70s at the Marine Building. I was a board marker in the Vancouver Grain Exchange as a youngster. So I've been in agriculture a long time. In that time period, I've seen canola go from a very marginal, minimal crop to what it is today. In 1965, there were 1 million acres of canola in Western Canada. The crop yielded 20 bushels an acre and produced about 500,000 tons. I'd love for hemp to be that big, but that was canola back in 1965. That was just starting out. By 2013, acreage has increased to 20 million acres. The varietal development results have increased the yield from 20 bushels an acre to 40 bushels an acre, and production has reached 18 million tons. Canola is considered to be one of the highest quality vegetable oils on the planet. It accounts for $19.3 billion to the Canadian economy and produces 250,000 jobs, about $12.5 billion in wages. It's a Cinderella crop, it's the dream crop, and it's an awesome story. Just in a magazine called The Western Producer recently, there was a report on canola, and there was a report saying, will there ever be another Cinderella crop? I think so, and I think it's hemp. I think I'm starting to refer to it as Cinderella Point 2 or 2.0. Hemp is actually better than canola, and I base this on my 40-plus years of experience in agriculture and understanding what the benefits of canola are and the financial opportunities that it represents versus what hemp shows me and the potential that it has. It has a higher digestible protein than canola. It has all 21 essential fatty acids, again, outstripping canola. It's a great source of dietary fiber. It's non-GMO, particularly important these days, and it's a dual crop potential. So not only are farmers making a lot of money that are growing hemp right now, but the opportunity to be able to grow fiber and food at the same time would be a complete home run. It would be out of the park. Even individually, one or the other right now, it's still one of the best return per acre crops that farmers have in their arsenal. It also offers the superior returns to other crops, as I just mentioned, requires no pesticides or herbicides. So we get this nice, friendly, ecological footprint. You don't need a lot of crop input to make this a viable crop for farmers. It prevents soil erosion through a quite substantial root system. It's also a carbon sequester, so it sinks carbon into the soil, and that's another good positive benefit. And again, remains illegal to grow in the United States for commercial purposes. So what are our impediments to success? We have Health Canada versus Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. It's still a controlled substance, and it's confused with marijuana, so we're struggling with that image, number one, and also our ability to make changes quickly enough that we can advance the industry at a good pace. Consumer awareness is low. We get the giggle factor whenever the subject of hemp is brought up. It's starting to get a little better. I'm always amazed at how many people say, oh, I have that in my diet all the time. And I have to challenge some people when they say that, because if everybody that I ever talked to was eating as much hemp as they said they were, there'd be a lot more hemp being used. Nevertheless, and we're also finding that there are investment companies now that are starting to come into this space and saying, hey, we're a hemp company, but really we're medical marijuana. And they're trying to build on the value and the knowledge of hemp in the industry, and to their own benefit to build their own industries. So where's the growth? Processing sector, marketing, R&D, and production and land aggregation. So all of these investment opportunities are present somewhere in the marketplace right now, and I think that's a lot about what NextGen is about, is trying to identify those particular marketing opportunities and present them to you. Where's the risk? Companies with no products, companies with no history, marijuana interests that are using hemp for that legitimacy that I referred to, and the heel dragging of Health Canada and the DEA. And the industry will keep putting pressure on those folks to try and make that happen. But I encourage you to do your homework. There's other people that have talked about best choices in terms of where you would make your investment decisions for a variety of different reasons, but follow these guidelines with respect to looking at the hemp companies that are available. Thank you.
Questions?
One question.
All right. I represent a member of the cannabis activist community, and was pushing for legal industrial hemp back before it became legal. And I think it's unfair to typify the marijuana interest using hemp for legitimacy. I think it's more like we don't want to get high in an environmental nightmare. And right now there's a big fight going on to prevent the pipelines from expanding the amount of fossil fuels being used. And as I understand it, hemp is the best fuel crop. If you grow it for ethanol, it could replace gasoline. But the things that are standing in the way are that industrial hemp has little to no subsidies, and the oil companies have massive subsidies. And that the hemp industry is overregulated to the extent that it makes it artificially expensive. Farmers have to buy millions of dollars worth of seeds every year rather than supplying their own seed. They can't be a seed breeder unless they have 10 years of apprenticeship underneath another breeder and a science degree. So my question is, what can activists and the industrial hemp community do to be more assertive in their advocacy to remove the overregulation, to switch subsidies away from non-renewables towards renewables, and to ensure that there'll never be any GMO hemp?
It's a lot of questions. With respect to the fuel side of things, because it's a very finite crop, it's very expensive. It's a food crop, so it's valued at food value. You really couldn't use hemp today at 80 cents a pound that you pay the farmer. That's just not viable for a fuel. So that price would have to get down substantially, without any subsidies on board. It would have to get down substantially in order to be affordable and substitutable as a fuel crop. The production would have to reach that 20 million acre kind of number for that to happen, and the price would need to be 10 or 15 cents a pound.
Wouldn't removing the over-regulations reduce the price?
No, it's strictly a supply and demand thing now. There's no regulation on the price of hemp. It's just simply done by market value.
But if a farmer can supply themselves with their own seeds, wouldn't that reduce the cost?
Not very much. And it would really degrade the quality of the crop. Pedigree seed provides its own inherent value. It's grown under strict controls. If you grow your own seed and then try to replant that, the plant will decline in quality, and ultimately it will lose some of those characteristics that are in that pedigree seed.
My understanding was that fuck-ups on seed breeding were happened even under the strict regulations that they have today. So pedigree seed doesn't guarantee perfect seed.
We've got a long way to go to reach that kind of quality in research and development. It takes decades.
Well, don't you agree that justice would demand that hemp does not have to meet any criteria that other crops don't have to meet?
I'm sorry, I don't understand correctly.
Well, you don't
Why
have
don't
to
we talk offline here, because I'm taking up the next...
Farmers can supply themselves with their own soy seeds and their own canola seeds. Why should hemp be any different? And why aren't you pushing so that that is the case? That hemp doesn't have to meet any different criteria than any other crops?
Well, it's the pedigreed seed industry really that would be the spokesperson for that. It's not the CHTA.
But if you guys don't mind talking online, good question, very good question.